This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
Welcome back, everyone. You want to move your life forward? You want to really make change? It's one word: intention. The intention you put into everything is what's going to propel you in the right direction. What does that word even mean? Let's break that down. Let's talk about that today. I want to describe who she is and what she does, but I find challenged in doing that because she does so much. She's a psychic intuitive. She is an energy healer. She does so much in helping people move their life forward. She's given me insight, created epiphanies, breakthrough moments, told me things that nobody else would have known, but things that I needed to know to move life forward. And it's great to have her back with us. She is Tricia George, back on the program. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. And
Good,
this word intention, I hear it with many. And I think there's a phrase that goes attention, then intention. Attention, then intention, where you have the attention of what you want to achieve and the direction you want to go in. Now you need to put the intention in, be intentional, and make it happen. How do you describe that word, intention?
For me, I guess intentional, you have to set the intent, right? There has to be a purpose. There has to be something that you're trying to attain or receive or gather. And you can set intention into anything. You know, it can even be an inanimate object where that's holding the intention for you, if that makes sense, because it's in a way, it's holding a lot of information, a thing, right? So say it's a marble or a stone or, you know, a crystal, whatever you want to call it. You can set the intention and actually take your thoughts and your beliefs and set it into this tool, let's say, and allow that tool to work for you.
What is the difference, based on what you just said, because I think I might be crossing a little bridge here, the manifestation bridge. What's the difference between setting the intention and then manifesting something? Or are they very closely related?
I think the intention is very closely related to manifestation, but you have to have it at 100% or greater. So you can't have it at like 99% or 60% because it won't come into fruition.
When
right?
you say it, you're referring to what?
It could be anything. It could be the creation of a car. You can't have a car at 60%. You know, you can't have.
But are you referring to 60% intention or manifestation?
But, well, you have to set the intention to have it, and then that has to be at 100% or greater in order to manifest it at 100% or greater.
So I'm getting a picture now. You set the intention for what you want. Let's say it's that really cool sports car. You set the intention for it, but I guess the next step is the manifesting of it, because the manifesting is believing it is coming your way, or it's here, it just hasn't shown up, right?
Yeah, and it's not even believing, it's knowing.
Thank you.
It's knowing. Because when you believe it, I believe I could get it at some time, maybe, right? Believing is like not 100% to me. Knowing is 100% or greater, you know? So if I want to get that sports car, or I want to create that or manifest it in my space, I'm going to know it's coming to me. I might not know how the universe is going to bring it forward, but I know it's coming. So I can already live as if I'm already receiving it.
But that isn't the intention. The intention is, it's almost like let me try and explain this. It's almost like the intention is the spark, but you need to put something on the spark, the fuel, and that is the manifesting of it.
Yes. Because it starts the ball rolling, right? It gets us to move towards the manifestation or the creation, or just by setting the intention of having to know that you're going to have that car. You really let go. You can kind of relax. because you're not really worrying about the manifestation part. You already set your thoughts and feelings sort of out to the universe. So it's going to come in some way, shape, or form. It could even be, depending on your intention, right? It could be like the next car you rent could be a sports car.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Simple as that, because your intention was there, but did you fully intend it?
Yes, because I intended to own it, but if I didn't put the full intention and belief within the manifestation, it shows up as a rental. Like for
Yes.
example, you need to rent a car. Maybe you're on a trip, you have an issue with your vehicle, whatever, and you walk up to the counter. Very hypothetical here. You walk up to the counter and say, "Yeah, I need to rent a vehicle." They say, "We have a sedan for you, and this is the
Yep.
price." Oh, but wait a minute, we can give you this insert name a sports car at the same price. It's just available, and all right, so it showed up, but it ain't yours.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because you probably weren't fully
Right.
conscious of your intention. Yeah, you weren't in
Yes.
awareness.
Yes. And I think we've talked about manifestation before, and
Yeah.
I've seen it at work, and there are things that showed up, but I didn't go with enough detail, and there were
Yeah.
key components missing from the things that showed up. Um,
Yeah.
but lesson learned.
Yeah.
Let's talk about different things you can put an intention into. So I've been trying to perfect meditation, and now I don't even call it meditation. I just talk
Yeah.
about I call it quiet time. Like
Yeah.
I've gotten to the point where I could just close my eyes and just go somewhere. And
Yeah.
it's honestly beautiful. Like it's almost like I've got going to home base where I can
Yeah.
think, maybe get a little clarity, peace, relaxation, but I can do it like that. Right now, I just close my eyes and I could, even while we're together, I
Yeah.
can go there, if you will.
Yes.
Now, I've heard that if you're going to go there or meditate, you need to set an intention for it.
Not necessarily. For myself, I like to go into the meditation, or let's just call it a safe space, right? Where we're in our environment and our space,
Beautiful.
we're having that, but we don't necessarily have to set the intention that something's going to come out of that.
Mm,
Like we can have that mindfulness, or, like I meditate in the morning, usually on a hike every morning, and that's a movement meditation in a way. So I'm present, I'm in my own space, I'm in my own energy field, but I'm also in communion with the earth and the world. So, and I'm having that, and it's a really beautiful experience to have, but we don't have to necessarily set an intention. We can set ourselves up to have an experience instead of intention.
how's that different?
Because experience, we're allowing things to come to us. So say that there's maybe it's an ancestral being that wants to come in and say hello during your, quiet time. They're going to actually have permission because you're allowing an experience. You're not setting the intention. Say your intention is to kind of quiet your heart, to soothe your, your stomach area, your first chakra. That's setting intention. You're purposefully doing work during your quiet time. But if you allow yourself to have an experience, you might close your eyes and you might have a spirit guide come in, you might have an ancestral guide come in, and they want to share information with you. Or if you're having that quiet time while you're walking in nature, you might find a symbol or sort of like a little gift from the universe. And that might be in the form of a feather, maybe a quartz crystal, something someone left on the trail accidentally. And that's happened to me a number of times where I find these
Hmm.
gifts along the way.
Would you say that whatever is going to show up without setting the intention for the safe place, meditation, you want to call it that, whatever's going to show up is supposed to show up. So that's why you
Yeah.
don't even have to set the intention for that.
Yes, yes,
Right.
because you're in communion then. You're in a communion space. You're allowing yourself to be open,
Mm,
right, to all that is. And like for me, for example, if say I'm in my communion space and I'm allowing experiences to come through and my aunt comes through my space, who I can feel right now, it's like she's coming in to share a feeling maybe or love or some information with me about my ancestors. And I need to hear that on the subtle level because we have senses. We have our ones that we're used to, right? Touch, taste, smell, hear. But we also have our subtle sense perceptions that can actually, when we go in and quiet our space, we can actually feel subtle energy actually coming towards us. And if we listen closely, we get a lot of information. It's actually pretty noisy, even in our quiet space.
Mm. Well, you know what? That's where the intention is.
Yeah.
Intentionally quieting things around you.
Yes.
So that, I guess that's where the intention needs to be.
Yes.
What about some of the other things that we can put intention into?
We can put intention into relationships. That's kind of a sketchy one sometimes because we can set the intention that we want a relationship, right? But we don't define what we're seeking. So sometimes we can, really get into a relationship that explodes our life, right? It's like all of a sudden we've had a 360 and we feel like the rug got pulled out from underneath us because we didn't set the proper intention for the relationship. I always say with relationships, pick 5 things and 5 things only. And what are you going to intend to give to this other person? And what do you intend to receive? Because
Is it a 5 and 5?
I like 5 and 5 because I know people that make like pages of lists, right? They're going to do this, they're going to do that. And I'm like, who's going to fit that bill? It's like a perfection picture. I'm like, why bother? I'm like, have your 5 elements that you intend to actually give someone,
Mm.
that you can actually provide to them, and be authentic, right? And then 5 things that you want to receive from that person. And it's nice and easy because 5s, it's easy. It's on your hand, right? It's with you all the time. So it's easy enough for you to actually have those elements without creating a paragraph or story or a narrative. But relationships, so many people intend to have a relationship and all of a sudden they could meet that person and they fall in love like instantly, right? But they don't realize that the guy is married, has 2 kids, goes, vice versa. It can go either way. But they just intended a relationship, but they didn't tell the universe what kind of relationship they wanted.
But isn't that now aren't we walking down the manifestation road here?
Yes, but you need to give some information. You have to give a little bit of information. You have to have a little clarity,
Mm. Uh, and the,
awareness, consciousness, right?
what
You
you're
have
what you're
to.
talking about was me, and the one thing I did not, I assumed came with the package of the person was the emotional availability, and that wasn't part of it.
Yeah.
I just assume, hey, this is what I'm looking for. This, all perfect, all there, fantastic. I guess I assumed that emotional availability would be there, and
Yeah.
wasn't, and
Yeah.
wasn't. I guess I wasn't intentional about being specific about all of those things.
Yeah, yeah, because we're thinking that we can just have it and it's going to show up and it'll be perfect, right? But it's like, how can we actually manifest it where it actually serves both individuals, right? Because a relationship's not one-sided. There's always 3 people in a relationship all the time. There's always
Tell
the
us, what do you mean by 3?
there's the you, the other person, and then you have your own set of energy fields. And then what happens is your energy fields a mesh into a third person. So the third person or the third entity is the relationship. It has its own set of chakras, it has its own auric field.
I need a moment.
It connects. We're connecting, right? We're connecting dots. We're connecting little beings together, and then we're creating a third that sits right in the center. That's basically what we're doing because you're sharing information. You're courting, right? We court people. So we're constantly feeding information back and forth, but there's sort of a homeostasis within a relationship that creates that
I'm on your
balance.
page, and it makes a perfect sense. But I haven't sat with this and never considered it.
Yeah.
And whoa,
Yeah.
it's almost you court someone, then you court with them.
Yes.
Um, so let's go back over that because
Yeah.
this applies to pretty much any relationship, I would imagine.
Any business relationships, family, everything, intimate relationships.
Okay, so person A, person B, they connect. They
Yep.
connected because they have similar goals, maybe
Yeah.
likes, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So the connection is formed. Now, between them, they have formed a certain type of energy
Yes.
that exists between them. And
Yeah.
they're, and just tell me if I'm wrong in any of this. And they're both pulling from that energy. They're working with that energy that unique, very unique energy that they have created. They're working with that. So I would imagine they have their own energy, person A, person B, but they've created a whole new energetic entity between them that they're feeding off of. Would that be it?
That you're engaging with, right? Like you're communicating through that. You're not necessarily feeding, because feeding is like taking away.
Okay.
That you're creating a new being where it's like you're bringing your energy and the other's energy together to create a new energy field, which is relationship. It's like, say it's like Tony and Sarah, so Tone Sa, might be the middle of it, right? It's half of Tony and half of Sarah. So they come together, and it's almost like the median in a street or in a road. The roads are going two different directions. You're allowing your partner to have their own life and you to have your own life, but you do meet in the middle somewhere in that median. The median attaches to both sides of the road. Same with the river.
So let's look at it. Person A, person B, they come together. It seemed like it was a good idea. And then things just aren't working the way they both anticipated.
Yep.
What is going on with that unique energy that came together, was created?
It could be where, so it would depend on the circumstance, but say person A was not in full integrity and they weren't authentic. So they came into the relationship, they pretended to be something that they weren't, right? And they wanted to sort of absorb more of the relationship energy through codependency or conditions or contracts, right? Where
Mhm.
they want more out of that other person. So they start draining the energy field from not only the relationship, but from person B. So they're affecting it where they're trying to control the narrative. They've manifested something, right? They
Mm.
actually created this, so they maybe don't have to do as much in their day-to-day life. Like say they don't want to work and they hook on to person B who's a workaholic. They're like, oh, this is nice. I got a constant influx of money coming in, and I was working. Now I lost my job, but here this money's still coming in, and this person's passive enough to keep working while I just enjoy my life and sit back and relax and, you know, do things like that. It's conditional, right? It becomes a condition. It's where the agreement changes. So the manifestation actually occurred. You had the relationship, but then it was manipulated, right? Because there was no boundaries that sort of set the tone for each individual.
Is it coming down to expectations essentially?
Well, expectations, attachments, and judgments, big time. Those are the three that I always follow is where's the expectation? Where are we attached, right? Like person A is attached to person B because she might be getting something from that person, which is
Mm.
financial stability in a way.
So yep, even in a business situation, and I recently
Yeah.
made some changes on a side project,
Yeah.
but connected with somebody, and it seemed like we had the same vision. So we worked on building something, and then things started looking differently. And I started seeing, well, that's not what I'm feeling,
Yeah.
and vice versa. Um, but maybe it was the expectations because I had different ones than apparently the other person did. So I wonder, I look back at that and it's all good. But I just wonder why it didn't work. But I think it's also expectations. Like, you verbally talk about things and how it's going to be, and this is going to be great, and we're going to work on it, da, 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 da. And then you did it, and it's like, well, that's not really the way I'm seeing it, and you're not seeing it the same way either.
Well,
Um,
yeah. Yeah, it's not holding water because there's no contract. There was no boundary made, right? So say the two of you actually created a boundary that created separation between each of you and where you definitively wrote down what was going to occur,
okay.
right?
And okay, so does it come down to that? Obviously, in a personal romantic relationship, I don't know if that is practical to say, all right, well, hey, All right. What are you expecting to get out of this? It's great meeting you, by the way. What are you expecting to get out of this relationship? I don't write these things down. Go ahead. Go ahead. I mean,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's, I think that might be uncomfortable. Certainly in the business situation, should have been, and that was my lesson. That's my
Yeah.
universal lesson in the past year or two. Life lesson also,
Yeah.
very, very important, is I just assume it's got to
Yeah.
be it's got to be documented, and I may, shake your hand. You got me. Full honesty. There it is. That doesn't work. It doesn't work.
The handshakes are really tough to find people that are so authentic that you can just do it off a
And
handshake
there's
anymore.
my problem because
Yeah.
that's how I roll.
Yeah.
Others don't do it that way. And
Right.
that's, so I have to adjust me. But even in a romantic connection partnership,
Yeah.
where do you go with that? I mean, short of a prenup. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you could do that, or you could ask the questions, like know what you're getting into before you jump into the relationship fully. Ask the serious questions, make it uncomfortable. Make it where you have a conversation where you say, let's just have a Q&A on each other. You know what I mean? Right off the bat. So you actually know how they're going to react to certain questions, and you should be able to ask anything because it's almost like you're interviewing the person. You don't want to just jump into a relationship with someone. You want to know what they're about. You want to sort of see where their head is at, because you should love yourself enough that you want to be cautious about who you let within your energy system, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Got to tell you, not about me, but I can just validate what you're saying and then lessons for others. Um, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
And many of us, because, maybe where we are in our journey wouldn't be comfortable in doing that. Or, you meet somebody, now you're smitten, it's just, oh, this is wonderful. This is great. Well, I don't want to rock the boat asking these questions. I'll just, the
Yeah.
pieces will present them. No, they won't.
Yeah.
No, the only thing that's going to present, in my opinion, is that person will show you who they are in the very beginning. Everybody does.
Yeah.
Everybody does. You got to look. You got to see it. You got to read it. You got to get good at that. I
Yeah.
wasn't. Made a lot of
Yeah.
mistakes. I don't want to call them mistakes. Learned a
Yeah.
lot of lessons along the way.
Experiences.
Experiences.
Experiences. Yeah, you
Yeah.
have different experiences, and as long as you're conscious of them, and you stay grounded, and don't fall into that honeymoon phase, right? Where
Yeah.
you're in, like that's a temporary element, right? Unless you can carry that throughout your whole relationship, which can happen
Sure.
if you work at it. If you have that energy, you could actually have that. But if you're healthy in your boundary space, you're going to come to any relationship in a healthy way. Like, how can I serve you, Steve, for example, and how can you serve me? And how can we create a balance that's good for both of us, where no one feels like they're being inauthentic, and not come from like elementary school or middle school energy, you know,
So
which,
two things here. Um, it almost sounds uncomfortable, even in a romantic partnership, to even say or think, what am I giving you? What do you got for me over there? What are you giving me? But it's the
yeah,
truth.
it's the
It's
truth.
it's the reality.
Yeah,
Maybe we don't want to, it sounds like a little dirty, but
yeah,
no, why are you engaging with somebody else? Because
yeah,
you want something and you want to give them what they want. And if that doesn't work, this whole thing doesn't
yeah,
work. And I find it interesting. Before we got on here today, Tricia, you said, now, why don't we talk about intentions and boundaries? And I'm like, well, we'll put the boundary thing over to the side. And if we get to it, we get to it. We
yeah.
got to it organically because it fit. Now I understand it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know how many people I read where they are in a relationship and I'm like, did you ask the question? Like, for example, are they into polyamory or are they monogamous? That should be one of the first questions you ask. If you're wanting a monogamous relationship, right? You're setting a boundary. And if they say polyamory, that's okay. It's okay to have that. It's okay to be that. But did you communicate? Did you actually ask the questions, ask the right information, you know?
Hmm.
And it's okay either way. There's no judgment, right? You're
Right.
not judging.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. And if you don't ask the question, you may get very surprised at some point
yep.
because then
Yep.
the other person might pile it on. "Ah, guess I don't care. So I'm going to be doing my thing. I'm not even going to tell them I'm with, other people, whatever it might be. And yeah, that's
Exactly.
it. When it comes up, it comes up. But that might be a harsh wake up for somebody else. And
Yeah.
I learned so much. I learned so much with you. Whoa.
Yeah.
Amazing. But this is what you do with energy work, healing, transformation. How do we find you?
I would say the best way to find me is my website, which is energyworkandhealing.com. I have a Spotify channel, YouTube, and I did write a book, which I'm excited. So that's kind of fun. So
I always forget to talk about that. What's the title of the book?
It's Beyond the Seven. So it's about the chakra system. It's actually about how I perceive it and how I see it.
And interestingly, when we had a session together, I've always believed there was 7 chakras. You were going above, like is it 12 you work with?
I work with 12. There's 114 though in our body.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But you were even, you were like a couple of chakras above the crown chakra.
Yeah.
When we were working together, which, kind of fascinating. And I have to say, good stuff came from that. Good stuff came from that. Amazing.
That's great.
Thank you for today.
Of course. My pleasure.
Lots to think about for all of us.
Yes.
Setting the intention. All right.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. We'll talk soon, okay?
All right. Take care, Steve.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.